Hello, everybody. Welcome to the X-Files Preservation Collection. It's Kelly and Jim here, and we're talking with Corey Kaplan. Hello, Corey. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
We're excited to talk to you.
Very excited to talk to you.
And I'm excited to talk to you too.
All
Thank you for
right.
the invite. I really appreciate it.
Well,
It's our pleasure.
definitely. It's an honor. So, to start things off for our viewers, could you tell us what a production designer is?
I can tell you what a production designer was since I haven't worked in a little while, but
Sounds good.
out of what I remember, we help choose the look of a TV show or feature. We work with the director, the producer, the writer, and figure out based on what we can afford and what we dream, the vision of what this show should look like. So starting with where it should be shot, what would represent the story, the best way to tell the story visually, um, where it should be because of the story figuratively, action-wise, and how much we should build, which becomes another part of it. We help hire location managers to help figure out how this should work, and then the production designer brings in art directors, set decorators, property masters, everybody that will help facilitate everything needed for a TV show or a feature.
All right. So, you're involved in like helping to choose the locations and stuff like that. You're going to go out and obviously do tours and stuff and pick out locations. Um, Trying to think of other things to make it real for the viewers.
Right. Sometimes we work with wardrobe to coordinate the looks of everything so the feel is right. If I get a location or something that I build and I painted a certain color, I'll make sure that, our colors are working with everybody they bring onto the set. There's a lot of coordination. That's why there's, up to 300 people on a TV show. Everybody has a job to do. As a production designer, I want to work with the director of photography. The X-Files, I really needed to work with the director of photography because everything was so dark.
Yeah.
I had to be very, very specific as to how to light things. My background, which might have helped me, a little different than most production designers, which come from architecture, is I'm a photographer and an artist. So Bill Rowe is the DP. I'd worked with him before, but I'll say, how do we light this? This is all about internal lighting. This is all a submarine, or this is all, you're in a cave. So how do we light it? So Bill and I would work together because lighting has to become part of my set. And that's what you see is what you get. So that's very important. Every department becomes very important to me. Stunts will need certain things so they could do their job. And the X-Files, there's a lot of stunts. Visual effects will need me to put in elements of my set that will help us blend with what visual effects is going to do. And now a production designer, visual effects is almost another department, and that's new. That wasn't when I started. In the X-Files, when we had John Scheiben's first directorial show, when he had a lizard man run around in a cave, it wasn't in visual effects. The cave was really spinning.
Which is amazing.
Wow.
Now it doesn't work that way. Now visual effects will have a cave guy standing there or a lizard standing there, and the cave will be spin via post. They call it the post department will take care of that.
Right.
So that is something new that has come into production design, where we work hand in hand with visual effects. Marvel and all of their movies and shows are so much visual effects that they barely look real anymore, which is, we feared that when high def cameras, we went from film. When we shot the X-Files, we were shooting in 35 millimeter. Beautiful. A lot of work, a lot of lighting. Film speeds only go so fast before you lose clarity and gather grain, which nobody likes. Then came high def. And Bill Rowe and I, the DP of the X-Files for seasons 6, 7, 8, and 9, and myself, we were there to transition to high def. they wouldn't do it on the X-Files. We stayed in film, but Bill Rowe and I went from the X-Files onto a Michael Mann TV series called Robbery Homicide, and we had to embrace the idea that we would now be shooting high definition. That wouldn't have worked as well for the X-Files. You would see so well into the shadows. We don't want to see in the shadows.
Exactly.
We want a flashlight, you know what?
That's right.
Right.
Flashlights.
So,
You need those flashlights.
That's where I find high def is complicated. Marvel shows are complicated. Everything is too vivid. Everything is very vivid. Between high def photography and visual effects, you know, TV is like cartoons with real people now.
Yeah. I love one of my favorite parts of this is hearing about how things were done back then, like, you know, the cave actually spinning. So I love to learn about how all that stuff happened. But for right now, how did you get started in production design?
Having graduated from art school, went to school for as long as I possibly could so I can still do art and enjoy it. Went to Cal Arts and Parsons School of Design. I'm from New York. I stayed doing art for as long as I possibly could till I would have been a homeless person. And then I realized that film in Los Angeles was an easy job to do. You know, I fell into it. I did props. I did set decorating. I made a movie when I was going to school, so I knew how films were made. I made my own film. I got a grant for it. So for me to segue from art to production design was really a no-brainer. I was an artist who made a movie. I get it. I get all the steps in between. And there was a low-budget filmmaker named Fred Olin Ray who did these very, very funny, campy horror movies. And he let me participate in every single part of putting that together. I had a lot of fun, which was a natural graduation to a place like the X-Files. And I came up pretty quick to come into production design. Maybe because I spent so many years just doing art and film.
Awesome.
How did you get to get the job on the X-Files to be the production designer?
I went in for an interview, of course. I believe Chris had already hired two people that I was working with, a director, Michael Watkins, and Bernie Caulfield, who was a producer. We were at the moment that they were hiring for the X-Files, we were shooting movies, TV movies in Los Angeles. And me being the overachiever, it was almost non-union. So I really got to do a little bit of every department. I even directed on second unit stunts. I was the type of person who would say, no, you know, even to Bernie, who I knew very well, it's like, don't do it this way. I think we can hire this person. And it was even outside of my field, but I always had the feeling that it's one big party. Let's all participate to have a great time. And Bernie thought, well, let's bring her onto the X-Files. It just seems perfect to me, to her. And I'd never worked on a movie lot before. And we were doing a skateboarding movie. So I interviewed, I took the skateboard onto the X-Files, onto the lot of Fox. I was the only person on a skateboard. I was in my 30s. And I guess that's no excuse for being dumb, but I was on my skateboard. And I took my skateboard all the way up to Chris Carter's office thinking, there's no way they were gonna hire me on a great big TV show. There's no effing way, man. So I go into his office and I have my big old skateboard because we were on a skateboarding movie. It's called On the Brink, did really well. And I go into his office. It's as dark as my office is right now. And there are long boards, surfing on every single wall. And I go, wait a minute. This is like a perfect match. I have my skateboard. He has his longboards. They're sitting on the floor having like tacos and burritos. I mean, this is like, and I'm dressed kind of like this. It was kind of a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, that's great. I'm just going to have fun with this because I'm still thinking I'm not going to get a job. There's no way. And I went home that night. I left the whole way. And I get a call from Michael Watkins that night. on my reel-to-reel machine, because that's what we had right then. You couldn't get it on your iPhone. We didn't have iPhone. And he
Yeah.
said, I did ride horses. Then he goes, you raised the bar real hard at that interview. I was listening to his message. You got the job. I'm thinking, raise the bar. Oh, that comes from when you're jumping. I'm a jumper. Oh, I raised the bar really high. I get it. It's kind of a joke. Oh, I got the job. Fuck. What am I gonna do? I got the job. What do I do now? I call Bernie. I'm like, come on, Bernie, I can't do this. She goes, yeah, you can. You just hire the right people. We'll make sure you have the right people. You could do it. And that's pretty much how it went.
That's an awesome story. The minute you said you had that skateboard, I'm like, oh, perfect. Because of his surfboards.
Yeah.
So funny.
Oh, it's so crazy also to skate around the Fox lot and look at all these people thinking they're kind of, this is really biased of me to say, but these are union people, because I'm non-union. You do everything, you work your butt off, you barely
Yeah.
have time to eat. And they all look so cozy and comfortably overweight. And I'm like, wow, this is luxurious, but not, I just don't think I ever want to be this cozy. Well,
Yeah.
the job wasn't that cozy. There was nothing cozy about that job. It was 7 days a week for 4 years straight.
Yeah.
I saw more marriages break up. It's like if you can't be with your husband, wife, kids, it doesn't matter how much money you're earning. That's what happens. I was engaged when I got that job. That didn't work.
I was gonna say.
That
No,
didn't
you're
work.
working 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing we hear often, that job was hard, long hours, constantly.
Yes.
We were on the west side of town near UCLA, only about 10 minutes away. So they asked me if I would come teach at night for only 10 weeks. And when I started, I did this now for 3 years, I did that. And I would start the class with all the women in the class saying, ladies, if you get this job, let me tell you what you might be giving up or having to deal with. Because it's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of women that really don't get to stay with their family or raise their family.
Right.
During this strike, I said to my daughters, I'm really sorry. Now I know what it's like to be home and be a mom. And I don't think I ever knew that. I don't think I was there,
Right. You were working.
Yeah.
You did the best you could.
Yep. We did the best we could. They're alive. They're well. I have grandkids. God darn it. It's all
there
good.
You go. Awesome. So any advice for someone that wants to get into production design? Where should they start?
Well, I'm afraid to answer that question because I am very culpable in helping people get into the union. I worked for my union, for the local 800. I started a committee to help bring people into the union for the past 10 years. And I did that because I was non-union till I was almost, mid-30s, which was really unfair. And I thought, this is really unfair. So I helped bring people into the union. It took me 2 years to write grants. I got it to happen. We bring in people all the time. And now I feel terribly guilty for all the people I got in who aren't working because there aren't jobs.
Yeah.
So I know there's a way to get in. Look on our website, Local 800. We've listed it out well. I don't have to explain it. I won't waste your time. All I could say is if you love creativity and you do get into the union, make sure you have other creative assets going for you.
I've heard that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've heard that quite a bit.
So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
During COVID, my dream was to design a house. I'm tired of designing great things, living with them for 4 years and watching them get torn down to the ground. I designed a house. I built it in my backyard. It's now an ADU and it is paying my mortgage, thank God, that's like thinking outside of the asset box of what I got a degree to do, which, production design, let's say, and that's where I'm living. But things change. You know, it's just like we have insurance, health insurance. Your health might change. You have home insurance. Your home might change. You don't have job insurance. You need to make sure there are other things you could do to
Right.
support yourself. But I can't help but become a production designer. Just check on the website.
All right.
All right.
One thing I wanted to say is you mentioned how you design these things and they're temporary, but from our collection, I am blown away by how they built stuff for the X-Files. Like we've got an alien pod from the movie, the first movie they did, and that thing's got a small steel beam in it. And I'm like, I always say this to everybody, like, did they know they had to take that down eventually? Because us moving it was like a major project.
Right.
The amount of detail and like work that you guys all put into all of it. I mean, everything we have is like really detailed and seems like it wasn't meant to move.
Well, as strange as it sounds, we have amazing safety protocol. Amazing safety protocol. We had somebody die on the X-Files.
Oh.
Season 9. And when I went to the next safety meeting to get another degree, you have to have a certain amount of degrees every year that you start something. They mentioned the X-Files and how something went wrong. And I am shocked and amazed at how hard we work to make sure that when we build things, they're safe. Yes, they are made of steel. Yes, if you're on a roof, there has to be a banister. Even if you're just shooting on a roof for a temporary scene, we will have to erect banisters that are 30 inches tall, 24 inches away from these are codes that have to be followed. You don't see them for other professions, but for our profession, it's become part of our union standard. So that's perhaps why you see painstaking efforts into, and there isn't a matter, yes, they do take advantage. Sometimes I've seen other shows where they built the whole thing out of steel. It's like, come on, you didn't need to hire iron workers to do that. Were they in your family or something? I mean, there is a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for a producer to, I feel sorry for line managers and producers. You have a crew of 300 or so people, and then you have a specific episode that needs cars to get thrown off a bridge and the bridge falls, and then there's the water below where people are so many different departments you have to manage in a short period of time. You have to trust that people are doing their jobs.
Right.
So we create the protocols, but there are people that take advantage of that too.
Always. And
so it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
Right.
We were always very, very safe.
Right. That's here at, the X-Files Museum. We don't focus just on, the main characters that all the fans see on TV. We also pay tribute to all the people behind the camera, because a lot of people, whether it's the X-Files or any movie or, TV show, they don't realize how many people are involved in creation of something. And their talents and stuff, whether it's the construction department, whether, it's wardrobe and stuff, they just don't realize how vital, if it wasn't for everybody behind the camera and behind the scenes, you wouldn't have like the X-Files. It was so great because it was a whole team effort.
Right.
It really was. Everybody worked together. Right. Locations department had 8 people. It was crazy. We just had an amazing amount of people. Construction. On my 3rd episode, season 6, The Ghost That Stole Christmas.
Yep.
Chris said to me, "What would be your Corey? Congratulations. We like what you've done. We're going to keep you." I'm like, "Thank you." He goes, "What would be your dream set to build?" I said, "Well, I know this big mansion up in above, like near Ojai. It'd be great. That would be such a great mansion. He goes, send me pictures. He wrote a whole episode about it, The Ghost That Stole Christmas.
I love that.
That was the good news. The bad news was I had to build it. I had 8 days.
Wow.
So you came onto the stage to see them building it. It looked like ants on a sand pile. You know, it was 60 guys in every 20 square feet. You know, it was an amazing amount of work for an unbelievable amount of people in a short period of time. And everybody was focused on what their job was. And it's amazing how we do this stuff, all because Chris wrote, and they were trapped in a mansion. They were trapped in a mansion. or the time when we were at a production meeting, they had a great, this was like the joke was on me. They made me be the first person, the AD would start the meetings. There'd be 18 people at a production meeting when they're introducing the script. And Barry was one of our ADs. He'd say, okay, everybody, this is okay, Corey, you're going to start with what's needed, because production designers never start. I've been in meetings for the past 20, but it was always about what we had to build to pull this together. So there was one episode where Scully and Mulder are in a hotel room, and Mulder looks out the window, and he's looking at a cow across the street. Next thing you know, the cow flies up in the air and comes through the roof of their hotel room and lands on the bed. And I remember starting that meeting. It's like, how do I get the cow to come through the roof and land on the bed? Do I have any suggestions? It's like,
wow.
Everything was always a great big challenge. And it took a team of people to figure this out, you know, all because he wrote, and the cow flew through the roof.
All right. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It starts with just the script is like just these words on paper. And then
I know.
it turns into,
oh, wait, there's one more even better. We made it all the way to Thanksgiving on season 6. This is all us learning. This is the first season of the XFiles for us Americans. And I finally get 4 days. And me and my then almost married man were we're up at a beautiful hotel in Ojai, and they send me the script. I don't know why I'm reading a script while I'm at this beautiful, but I'm reading it. And it's like this entire apartment building near the beach floods with water all the way down the halls, breaking into the rooms. Unbelievable. And that's just the first 3 pages.
Yeah.
And I call Bernie Coffey. I'm like, Bernie, did you read this? How do we got to build an entire building that's going to take, and it has the flood. So it has to be waterproofed on a stage.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, okay, I'll call you back. I get a call back about 10 hours later. She's like, okay, you can leave the hotel now. We have the entire crew coming down to the stage. We're going to pay for you to work during the weekend.
Aww.
Well, that was the end of that marriage. That never happened.
You know?
So we build this entire thing. The crew comes in 4 days later, and Bernie comes and she goes, I got the new pages from Chris. He took the waterproof out of it. Don't tell me that. Put that back in. We've already built it. So
wow.
It was a great episode.
It was worth it. So at least I think it was worth it.
It was worth it. And I married the right guy, not the wrong guy.
There you go. All right. That's one of our favorites. So, you know.
It was
I'm
really
glad
good.
that worked out.
Oh my God.
What was the most, off the top of your head, what was the most challenging episodes for you?
Well, I think the first episode, of course, is the most challenging one because, you know, you had William Gibson. Once again, it's the first, 3 pages of the story. A little boy is swimming through a nuclear power plant through the line, and he sheds his skin and turns into an alien. I'm like,
okay.
How do I do them? I remember leaving the office Friday at 9:30 at night, driving over to my best friend's house, who was an illustrator. I said, Adam, I'll pay you out of my pocket. Work with me this weekend. I got to figure this out. And he did, and we figured it out. And I remember having all these guys, these big guys, the grips, the gaffers, the electricians, sitting in an office while I have this little model of what I'm going to build that me and my friend Adam put together, who I paid out of my pocket for that weekend. And they all bought it. They all said, yeah, this can work.
All right.
That was it. But what I did, and this is crazy, I turned one whole stage into three floors of underground, like nuclear power plant. Seriously, we welded it all together. And Charlie Goldstein, who ran Fox at that point, he said to me, how the hell am I going to afford you welded together an entire stage for one episode? I said, I promise you, Charlie, will make use of this. You will never say bad girl to me again. I want you to know we used that metal armature of set going around upstairs throughout all 4 seasons. It was the first thing we put up. It was the last thing we tore down. I could actually show you from season to season what we turned that into, whether it was Mulder's basement, whether it was a nuclear power plant, a containment center, it was a control center with all these computers. It was everything. We used it for almost anything. It was perfect for the X-Files.
There you go.
And Chris was great for this. He did something that no producer has ever done. He writes for what you give him. Yes, he does have the cow through the fall come through the roof, and then
Yeah.
But he would say to me and El Jones, who was the location manager at the end of the season, please scout when the show's over and around LA and find me great things, interesting things, fun things to write about. Because Chris has the ideas of what he'd want to happen. We just need to show him opportunities of where they can exist.
Right.
Right.
And it was a brilliant idea. And I don't know why nobody else has ever done that. It's so smart.
Yeah. And after the mansion thing, you were careful what you told him you were dreaming about, right?
He never asked me again. I already got the job. No, and I won awards for that one too. So that was fun.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Great Ed Asner. Oh my God.
Yeah, you had a good cast for that one.
Amazing cast for that.
Definitely.
Mm.
So do you have any other really fun stories you want to share with us?
Well, of course, the parallel to that would be the very last episode, which is Anza Borrego, where I had to build the Hopi ruins.
Right.
Yep.
Which, lo and behold, I had to do something similar when I was a decorator for Robert Redford on a movie. We were shooting on the Navajo land out in Arizona. And on the way to work, we were thrown off the reservation.
Wow.
I'm living at a Indian high school in their dorms because we were on the reservation. And they threw us off the reservation.
Oh.
And I was told by the production designer, he's like, we have to build the whole reservation on the other side of the street.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So even I put down my decorating tools and became a construction person for a while. Everybody did.
Yeah.
So I was very familiar with this concept, and it was a hell of a lot of work. But nothing, after 4 years, nothing could scare me at that point,
Yeah.
Nothing could scare me. So that was just fun. It was just fun to do.
There you go.
Out in Anza Borrego.
So you got to work with Kim Manners, who sadly we never did get to interview.
I know.
Do you have any Kim Manners stories you can share with us?
Only the best.
Yeah,
Only the best.
we are sad that we never got to.
He was my ace in the hole. He was the first person I met on that interview when I walked through the door.
Oh, with your
He's
skateboard.
probably the reason why I got the job. Because I didn't know who he was. But I was
Ah,
telling him about the episode that I saw the night before. Little did I know he directed that. Little did I know he was Kim Adams.
that works out.
I know, I wasn't trying even. It helps when you're not trying. And you know, what did Kim always, his great saying, which I keep mentioning all the time, and everybody looks at me like I'm out of my mind. He'd always say, kick it in the ass.
Yeah.
Kick it in the ass. I say that on stage, kick it in the ass. I'm like, is Corey okay?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've tried to use that a few times.
Yeah, it doesn't go over well.
Guess I'm just not Manfred's material.
Kim, when I was teaching, there was a lot of things that he helped reify for me, such as storyboards. You know, such as storyboarding, how you're going to get into a scene, how you're going to get out of scene. He was really into understanding that and picking your shots carefully. This is before you can have 5 cameras on every set, shooting every possible angle, so that the editor becomes the poor person who has to put this all together, not the director pre-planning how this should come together.
Right.
I always say that it's now the editors that should win the great awards, because they're given an amazing amount of ingredients to go into one soup pan, and they have to bowl. They have to figure out how and what goes in there. Kim would say, I want a close up. And Bill Rowe would say, how many shots do we have this evening, Kim? And Kim would say, I got a close up of Scully. I got a wide shot of when Mulder comes through the door. And they'd be like, okay, we got 8 shots before lunch. He would know.
Yeah,
he would know exactly.
Right.
No, I
That's
don't think
good
directors know
stuff.
that anymore. I don't think they know that. You know, they just have ADs going, you got 2 hours. You know?
Yeah, shoot everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just put a camera everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know, TV shows haven't been looking bad. I think it's just another way of doing things. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about how films were shot 20 years before the X-Files. Cameras were the size, a whole camera package was like, you know, 10 by 10 by 10.
Yeah.
And lights were the size, you know, 5 foot in diameter. And they still managed to shoot great looking shows. Film speeds were so slow, but the detail was great. That's what you get in a slow, heavily silver rated film process. It's, you know, we don't have that anymore. But see, exchanges as we progress, everything gets better. Some things are lost. It's just different. It's just different. But Kim to me epitomized that the best of, you know, the mid 90s and the early 80s, probably. Even when I went to film school, it was art school. It was, yeah, you do boards. You do boards to understand how you want to put it together. And yeah. And he would make the production designer part of it. What I found later on, which kind of offended me, is directors would have me find storyboard artists, but then I wouldn't be in the meetings. It's like, what do you mean you don't want me in the meetings? Of course I have to be in the meetings. You're telling him to draw something that I don't know that I can make. Or
right.
all of a sudden I see like 5 pieces of paper with somebody doing something, and I'm like, oh, nobody talked to me about this. So I'm glad you had fun. But no, you know, I think that a production designer is, our abilities have been diminished in a sense. And I've worked for the union, and I've said, guys, we really need to stake our claim and stop being technicians and of different qualities of animation in the realm of creating sets, which is what we do now. You know, everything is on SketchUp or another plan that will help you draw things up. No, you need to talk to people as a production designer. You need to take authority of what the setup is. And we're not doing that anymore, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's a little,
Yeah.
It makes us less, I think there are members of the art department that don't even read the script anymore.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
true. They just do their job and they go home. They don't feel that they should be part of the process.
Yeah, that's kind of sad
Yeah.
because like I love that like you were so involved with all the different departments and people and you know how it all comes together and then you feel more connected to what you're making, what you're creating.
Right.
And
Right.
I would think then you're going to put more into it and your work's going to be better and everyone's work's going to be better and I'm going to get an awesome TV show.
Right. No, they don't really
Oh.
see that anymore. You know,
Huh?
when I worked with Shonda Rhimes, she was really good. She, you know, then I started sketching on the computer. I was using SketchUp, and I would send her pictures of what I was drawing at 9:30. I loved working at night, and I would get a one word answer from her, which is how she operates. Would be like, "Great, yes, no," but there was, you know,
At least
there was
that.
input from
Right.
somebody who was writing it, who was producing and writing it, and at least I had communication. I haven't had that since.
Wow.
About 5 or 6 years. So, yeah.
So by the time you got involved with the X-Files, you already knew what a big show it was. So how did you had to be, I would imagine you had to be kind of nervous getting into it, but how did working on the X-Files end up impacting your career?
I don't know that it did.
No?
No, I always wonder why it didn't. I mean, Bernie did ask me, she started the Game of Thrones and she did say, you know, she lost her first production designer. She said, would you like to come out here and work on this? And Vince asked me to come out on his show too. But so that I made the choice to have a family and want to stay in town.
Oh, there you go. But the connections, the show may not have helped, but the connections obviously had to have some.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I made my choices. You know, I knew I'd always have work, but I wanted to have family and I wanted to have a more rounded life. You know, God bless my friend Bernie, but she's in Hungary right now working on a TV show. And I don't know that she's happy about that. I shouldn't throw it out, but you know, she's far away from home.
Yeah.
And her husband's in back east somewhere, Kentucky. He lives in Kentucky. So, I mean, that's hard, you know, she spent 8 years in Europe doing Game of Thrones, but going from place to place to place. Yes, that's another family, but you don't get to see your family.
Yeah.
There's a trade-off there.
Yeah. You have to make your choices, I guess.
You have to make your choices.
Yeah, we've had some behind the scenes Keith Arbonat, he played, you know, in like creature suits and all that, and he you know, he was telling us and all the places that he's got to go fly to, you know, overseas in different countries. He's going to be there for months, and I'm like, wow, that's a rough schedule.
Yeah, if you have family, if you're like single, that's like awesome, but if you have a family, I wouldn't want to be doing that.
Stay single.
Okay. Might be a little too late for us, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of traveling. Bernie and I worked together for a number of years before we did the X-Files, and we traveled all over America. Every show was in another state. And I started to feel a little tired of that too, you know.
Yeah.
Even without a significant other in my life, it's just like, how's my dog? Can I bring my dog here? It's like,
when I think of it, your hours were crazy. So you probably, I don't know, did you get to see much of this country that you were traveling?
No, you don't.
Yeah, so that's
no, you don't.
Yeah, that's no fun.
So and I would ask Bernie, you know, where she. So did you get to go see that? No, they're busy working the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a few friends that have gone on day trips, or their husbands fly out and they get to go away to this place and the other. But you know, you make it what you want to make it. If that's what you want to do, that's great. I did a lot of traveling before I did the X-Files on my own. So it's not like I don't feel that I've seen the world. I've seen a lot of the world.
And you're just done seeing the world.
Yeah, I mean, I do miss working. I do miss the family of people that you work with. I did have a close family of people before COVID and before the strike. Loved having the same people to work with. That's another thing that happens to you when you travel all over the place. You have to pick up people anywhere, somewhere, and hope that you can communicate with them and that you could trust them.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not always possible, you know. And not that I had that problem. I managed to do pretty good everywhere I went, other times that I have had to travel. But I have a great crew now. I mean, we're like my decorators, we call ourselves sisters from another mother. We're so similar. It's lovely to have people like that in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely makes work a lot easier when you
absolutely
like the people you're working with.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely does. You have to, I tell people, even when I was teaching, you have to interview the people that are interviewing you. You might not want to really be with them. You might not want that job. You might need it, but you might want to say no for damages that can happen that money can't repair.
Definitely.
Right.
That's true in all fields.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So
you hinted a little bit that you were a viewer of the XFiles before you worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask every interview this: are you a mythology fan or a Monster of the Week fan? You had to pick.
It's hard for me. I'm going to close this door because I hear my husband typing. He has a typewriter fetish. I'm not a mythology fan. I'm a Monster of the Week fan.
There you go.
Right.
I think the mythology is a myth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't want to piss Chris off.
You
know, when Mulder found
the
the
first
sister,
time.
I'm like, oh, come on. Everybody's standing over the graves. It's like, please. Oh, no.
Yeah. We love the Monster of the Week episode. So
they were great. Every monster was amazing.
Yeah.
Every monster can be a series in and of itself.
Yeah.
I always said that. I was like, why can't they make a show, just like the X-Files, the Monster of the Week, because the writers can come up with anything, and
just like I always said, everybody's talking about they want to bring the X-Files back. I'm like, listen, let's do a different take. There were so many like Monsters of the Week and like people with weird abilities that the government took them all, right? So they're holding them in some facility. And I want the show to be about that facility, and we can explore like whatever you guys dream up, whatever the writers dream up, somebody could escape and I don't know, whatever, but just focus on the monsters.
I love that.
Awesome.
I tried to talk Vince, not enough.
Yeah.
One of his episodes where it was the genie in the bottle. I don't know if you remember her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She was a little, not like I Dream of Jeannie. She wasn't perky. Right. She was like a dark goth woman. But it's like, what a great series would that be? The Genie in the Bottle based on Now.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Then my husband started to write something up to propose it to Vince, and we started arguing. I'm like, I don't like your genie. He made the genie a guy. It's like, no. So we decided to let it go and keep our marriage. But so many shows could be serious. They're so great.
Yeah, I love them.
I mean, the Monster of the Week episode. I mean, Kolchak the Nightstalker did it back in the 70s. And every episode was just, a different monster of the week.
Right. Oh, yeah. Love that series.
Yep. That was good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I love when they did the revival and they paid homage to Kolchak with that one character wearing his. That's not my favorite. One of my favorite pieces of wardrobe that we have is that.
I really enjoyed that Darren McGavin got to be in a couple episodes of the X-Files. That I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't that familiar with a lot of the actors coming into it. I remember when I first got the show and I spoke to the crew back in Canada, and the art director says, "So what about that Jillian?" I'm like, "Who?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, "Don't you know who Jillian is?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
But you know what? In my defense, Jillian doesn't know who I am either.
That's right.
No, she doesn't. When I did her first episode, I was showing her drawings, and she was like, "Who does this?" And I didn't want to embarrass her. I'm like, "I have crew members. They do things." It's just like that. So I think a lot of us don't know what the other folk do sometimes. I don't know a lot of actors. I really don't. I get to know them, but
Yeah.
as busy as I am,
Yeah. It's
sometimes
amazing though, like so many of the big actors now started out on the X-Files,
Yeah.
true.
like Ryan Reynolds.
I know.
Crazy, right? And
Yeah.
I've heard some stories, but I can't remember. Maybe you'll remember who told us the story. Like they worked with somebody and then, but was it
That was in the Vancouver.
Chris?
No, that was in the Vancouver years. That was Jeff Redknapp. He works in the props department, and then years and years and years later, way after X-Files ended, he wound up working with Ryan Reynolds.
And he like went, "Oh, that's right. We met back then. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was you."
That's amazing.
Crazy.
That's so amazing. Yeah, there were a lot of the lone gunmen. What a great story they are coming
Yeah.
from. Were they ever in the actual? They were crew, an AD. We had
Yes.
crew
Yeah.
that turned into actors. That did a great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's very supportive and very encouraging. I think a lot of us could trade places,
Yeah.
truly.
Def-
I think we could.
yeah.
I know a
Definitely.
lot of people advance from cinematographer to director. But I don't know too many other people that advance, which is a shame.
Yeah. Another thing that's amazing is like just like the celebrities the stars were started out like look at what Vince, like he started on the X-Files and then he's got all these mega shows and you know what I mean, like they're just blowing up and it's amazing.
He lived for this though. This is what he lives to do.
Yeah.
And Holly, his wife, is beside him 110%. She lives in the art world. She was a docent in LA County, and but he lives for his imagination, and she lives for the art world. So it's kind of they're both in the same place at the right
Nice.
time.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for them. Yeah, yeah. They're
Definitely.
amazing guy. And Frank Spotniks,
Yeah.
he's gone on to make some amazing, amazing stuff. He did move
Absolutely.
to Europe. I don't know how he took his whole lot of people and
Yeah.
over there, but he's doing well with his life, and his work. I don't know what happened to John Scheiben. I lost track with
Yeah.
him.
I
He
don't
was
think
there all 4 years, and he's the
nothing.
only one who I'm not up to date with.
Right. I'm not familiar with anything he's doing currently.
Right.
So, I mean, you never know. Maybe he's decided to stick with family.
He loved his family. He loved his wife. He loved his kids. He loved his father. He took us all out on a boat cruise, whale watching. It was really nice of him.
Wow. Nice.
The one thing to say about X-Files family, they really did a lot for one another. We had the golf club, we had our golf team, our golfing competitions.
Yeah.
A lot of film crews have that, baseball teams. But we had a lot of special circumstances. I think knowing how hard we worked together, we all paid respect to that.
Yeah, we hear that the
Me
crew was You hear it all the time, but they say this time, in your guys' case, it's true. One family, you guys are all a fam, like a big family,
Tight knit.
tight knit. Like
Yeah.
everybody in the interview says that,
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
which I love because I
Yeah.
love the show. So it's great to hear that, there wasn't a lot of drama.
Oh, there was drama, but
Yeah.
I think the drama was mostly with the actors. It was
Yeah.
definitely with David.
Now with the crew.
David and Jillian and Chris. Oh my God, all sorts of dramas. But crew is crew.
That's awesome.
But I can't wait to meet you all and
Yeah.
spend some time with you.
Definitely.
And
We're
who
looking
knows?
forward to
I might
it.
be,
Totally
I might be
excited.
moving to Canada. You never know.
Yeah.
With my husband, who's a Canadian.
All right, there you go. Just
I
a,
might be your
just a little
neighbor.
hop over the border.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. He's from Niagara Falls, so who knows?
Oh, wow. That is just a little hop over the border.
No, it is. It really is.
All right. Well,
All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's
for
been our
your time.
pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Have a great night.
You have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Make sure it saves. It's got to do its thing, right?
Yes, it's doing its thing.
Are you sure? I don't see it.
Babe, trust me, okay?
Well, we
It's
haven't
free.
done it in a while, so you need to make sure it saves.
It's